we're going live. Hi, we're here on Pride Pages podcast, and I'm here with Jerry Pergolesi with Casago Vacation Rentals. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. This is great.
And so don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. We're just going to jump right into the action with Pride Pages podcast. What is your coming out story or something about when you first came out, Jerry? I'm just going to like throw it out there.
Oh, well, thanks. I can just quickly say thank you for doing this. I know we just had a quick conversation. I thank you so much for doing this. Thank for what you're doing for the community and for a small business that's just getting started. Actually, I'm one of those folks that I'm a Gen X person. So, and I'm like at the beginning of Gen X kind of thing. And so I came out quite late. In life. It wasn't until I was about 30, and I guess like you could say I kind of came out in a big way because what I did was I showed up at a Christmas reunion things with my boyfriend. Now husband. And it's kind of one of those things where it was funny. Like, the reaction I got was kind of like, I kind of knew, which is that's not a new story or anything for a lot of people my age. Well, we kind of suspected, we kind of knew, we kind of thing, and so this is just a bit of a confirmation. I grew up in a city called Windsor, that's just outside of Detroit. And it's a very it's Midwestern and so on. So I just didn't feel comfortable doing that coming out. And while I was really there, and it wasn't until I moved to Toronto that I felt I could really kind of be myself. And the funny thing is I moved to Toronto to do graduate work, and I thought to myself as I once I got my acceptance letter to the University of Toronto, I was like, oh, I'll come out right away. I'll move to Toronto. I'll come out, and that'll be great and all that. And then, like, not a day later, a friend of mine who I did my undergraduate with at the University of Windsor calls up and says, "Hey, I heard you got into University of Toronto." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Me too. Let's be roommates." And I'm thinking, great, now I can't come out again. So for the entire time that we were together in Toronto as roommates, I was back in the closet. And so anyways, it was just one of those situations where it's like, oh my goodness gracious. And I got to say, now it's great to see young people coming out at any age, because I knew when I was a very young boy, I knew flat out that I was, different or whatever. And so it was one of those things that, you struggle with from a very early age. And then for me, right into adulthood. So, now there's another part of me that, wants to know that there's, teenagers in their room crying relentlessly to Madonna, and you need to feel that kind of pain that I felt. But it's great to see that's not necessary. Now there's that, and then there's also in the environment that we're in these days, with so many people taking shots at LGBTQ people. Can we say queer on the podcast?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's the Q in LGBTQ.
There you go. Well, there was a time where it was only LGBT.
I know.
Say Q. So, anyways, yeah, it's great. It's great, but it makes me think to myself, because I felt so apprehensive about coming out into my adulthood, and now we're very supportive of people coming out at any age. It's also kind of really alarming to see how people are still quite I don't know what's the word to say, but still quite offended by us, our existence, and so so actually that's what makes something like this even that much more, this podcast that you're doing, that much more important. Yeah. So that's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a friend who's actually coming out this weekend, and um, and I was also a person who came out late. I came out in my mid 30s, so I can totally relate to that.
yeah.
So tell me about living in Palm Springs as LGBTQ and what it means to you to be a part of the community, whether that's Palm Springs or LGBTQ or all of the above.
It's we real quickly, I might kind of jump ahead a little bit, but we ended up in Palm Springs because we moved our business down here. And we chose Palm Springs decidedly because it was so supportive of LGBTQ businesses. So what we did was we opened a small hotel here in Palm Springs. That was, again, it was a gay owned and operated, and for gay travelers specifically and exclusively for gay travelers. And so we chose that because there's these small privately owned LGBTQ hotels exist all over the place. In Palm Springs, there's quite a lot of them. There was a point in time where I think Palm Springs had the most LGBTQ hotels per capita in all of the United States, at least. And so we just felt that this was a great place to be in terms of a business environment and and just the support of having that kind of camaraderie amongst all the different hotels that were like hotels. And the other thing about Palm Springs was it's the small hotels that built Palm Springs. There's about 70, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
70 hotels that are under 50 rooms in Palm Springs.
Really?
Yeah. And so,
Wow.
and those are the hotels that built Palm Springs, and we wanted to be part of that. Like whether it was part of the queer community or whether it was just part of that small hotel thing. So there's a lot there, like the whole mid-century thing, the whole that Hollywood mystique and all that. It was all great stuff. But one of the main things, like actually the little clincher for us, was that at the time we're Canadian. We were and we we were migrating over. California recognized our marriage. Like they actually said, okay, because when you own real estate, you you have to take some of that stuff into consideration. So basically all of the things pointed towards like being here. And then I also have to say that Palm Springs is it's a small city, which is great. It's lovely to be in a small city, but it's very cosmopolitan because a lot of people come here from other big cities. So you have basically when you run into someone from Palm Springs, you say, "Oh, you live in Palm Springs? Yeah. Well, where are you from?"
Right. Because everybody's a transplant.
Yeah, I mean, there are. Like, it's when you finally find someone that was like born and raised in, then you're like, wow, you're kind of a unicorn. Um, but it's great because the city. I would say I can't remember what the percentage is, but it's a quite high percentage of homeowners here are LGBTQ. The city council at one time was completely queer, and so it's a bit of a joke. I can't remember where it was on, but I remember it was on some television show, and they said in Palm Springs it's the gays and grays who run it. And so for us that was it's just it was kind of like, yeah, that sounds right, yeah, okay.
Or they say it's where the gays go to die, and that's terrible. And I just think, oh,
Yeah, now no offense to Florida because they call that God's waiting room, but that's God's waiting room for the other people. And Palm Springs, if it has to be God's waiting room for the queer set, that's perfectly fine with me. So, yeah.
right, right. So I did a little bit of Facebook stalking on you, and I saw that you're a musician. I want to hear a little bit about it. Tell me something.
Oh, okay. Well, the funny thing is, I guess that's kind of part of my coming out story. One of the reasons why I didn't really come out late in life was because I was a working musician, and this doesn't sound great, but there is still a lot of intrinsic homophobia in the music world, and because of the world that I worked in, which is a lot of people would just lump into the category of classical, but it's really contemporary experimental music. It's very it's very male oriented. So I'm not sure if anybody who's watching the podcast would know some musical artists like John Cage or so on. I mean, it's some queer names. So John Cage or Pauline Oliveros, Lou Harrison. And I say Lou Harrison because we're very close proximity to Joshua Tree, where Lou Harrison built a house, and now there's a foundation that runs the Harrison House. And they all had different experiences as queer artists in the kind of musical world that we live in, like the experimental music world, experimental concert music, I guess is the best way to put it. But I also grew up kind of in playing in rock bands, and you can't be the gay drummer in a rock band, not at least not where I grew up, at that time. No, it wasn't a good idea. It was an easy way to get fired. And actually I did get fired one time from a band. They kind of skirted around the issue, but like we found out we suspect that you're gay, so we can't have you in the band, because it just makes for it's a lot of extrapolating that you have to do to get to kind of and conjecture, but the connotations are that well, if your drummer's gay, then you guys are all a bunch of fags. Sorry.
I mean, people said it. It's true. I mean, like, yeah. I can remember growing up and people quietly said that about George Michael. Like, they didn't want to, like, is it true? Is it not true? Yeah. I remember that. I mean, that was in our time.
Yeah. And so if you're a musician who is, in a working band, and all of a sudden one of the members of the band is either suspected of being gay, and all of a sudden rumors start about you, well, then no bar owner is going to hire you, because all of a sudden the bar becomes a gay bar. In fact, that kind of thing happened in Windsor, where like a bar got a reputation as being a gay bar, and they were just a neighborhood bar, and they had to kind of close down after a while. But so I just didn't feel comfortable. That's part of my coming out. I didn't feel comfortable. Then also going into studying, I did study at universities as a musician, and it's not the most comfortable environment to come out in. At least it wasn't when I was going through that process. And that's changed, and it's very different now. And I'm so happy that it is, because now that's being celebrated. So when I did finish university, I started this group. If you went onto my Facebook group, you'll see the little the linked over to Contact New Music, and Contact is we have a big giant Q in there for a good reason. So we spell it CONTAQT, and so at the time that I started that group, doing the kind of experimental music that we were doing, and we're based in Toronto. There wasn't a lot of queer representation in music, and we were just talking earlier how the Q wasn't in the LGBTQ for the longest time. So even when we started doing this kind of work, we had to say LGBT so that we didn't offend the heterosexual people that we were appealing to for funding and so on. Because if we used the Q, they'd be like, oh, or when we reclaimed the word queer, and we would say it in the community, you couldn't say queer amongst, mixed audiences, because that was apparently offensive and so on. So Contact did a lot of work to contextualize music that was created and or performed by queer artists, and we've been doing that for the entire time that we've been doing it. So that's basically our thing, and since I've got you here, we're working on a couple of recordings.
Oh, I love it. Okay, fantastic.
And if you want to see some of the work that we do a lot of online things. We do some streaming projects. We've got a couple up on the website. So if you go to contact.org or contactnewmusic.org, and again, that's CONTAQT.org, you can actually see some of the streaming things that we've done and so on. And so we do actually celebrate queer artists and so on. We don't do it just exclusively. So, but it is kind of, it's part of our modus operandi. Let's put it that way.
I love that. And the word queer has taken on a new vibe. It's like the new in word, and it's all encompassing. It kind of fits in that whole LGBTQ community. I mean, it used to say gay, but people are like, wait, you're a lesbian, you can't be gay. And I said I was a gay woman. I still do. But queer seems to be all encompassing, that fits that whole that whole umbrella of the LGBTQ, I think.
And I'll be honest. I still kind of feel there's always this slight little uncomfortable twinge that happens when I say the word queer, unless I'm saying it like in a very in a context where it's like that word is so ubiquitous, then all of a sudden you can say queer. But if you're saying it, whenever I'm talking to anyone, that even like with the other folks in Casago, like, I'm very conscientious of how do I say LGBTQ? Do I say queer? Do I say gay? And for me, sometimes gay and queer are interchangeable. So it's kind of, we're still figuring it out.
We are. So speaking of Casago, why did you go into the vacation rental business?
Okay, well, this is actually so as I had mentioned, when we moved our business down to Palm Springs, we had started it out as a bed and breakfast in Toronto called Barefoot Inn, and I'll just say right now that the spelling was BEARFOOT.
Oh, I love it. That's perfect.
So
now, do you still have Barefoot Inn?
Now, no, that's gone dormant for now. But we started that as a bed and breakfast in Toronto, and my husband had always wanted to have like a small hotel. Originally, when he was a younger man, he would always go to Key West, and so it was, that was kind of the idea, the thinking. But as we, as time went on, we found that Palm Springs was probably more amenable to where how we wanted to do what we wanted to do and where we wanted to do it. So we moved it down here. And then after about a decade of running the hotel, we both got older, like everyone else does. And
it happens.
Yeah, it happens. So we were just kind of looking for, well, what's our next step, and how do we move away from this? And from actually being, because it was a small hotel, which we lived on premises, so it was a 24/7 job where we had people more or less in our front yard all the time. They were always there because we lived there. And so for us to kind of go, okay, well, if we're going to wind down the hotel business, we needed to find a way to transition. And part of that was that we thought, okay, well, we'll get a property that we'll use, and we'll also, when we're not there, we can rent out, because vacation rentals are there's a lot of vacation rentals in Palm Springs. Palm Springs is, their main industry here is tourism. So if you're not in a small hotel, or you're not staying at a vacation rental, or a resort of some kind, vacation rentals are another option for you. And so we're looking around for someone to manage it, and we couldn't find someone to manage it. So, and also at the same time, the advice we were getting was, you really need to kind of transition your business. And we were going to open a hot dog stand. And then somehow, while we were kind of in the process of, kind of looking for a property that we could use as a vacation rental, and the process of thinking, well, what will we do with our lives for the next little bit? It was like, oh, why don't we do this vacation rental thing? That's
Man,
like a light
like
bulb.
you're looking for.
The light bulb finally went off at one point, and we found Casago here, which is a national company. They have about, if I'm not mistaken, more than 50 different locations around North America. And but every one of them is locally owned. What the way that they grew, as opposed to the company saying, okay, we'll just open a place here, we'll open a place there. More or less the way it works with them is people who are already doing a lot of the franchisees, for lack of a better word, or a lot of the different markets, are people who were running vacation rental businesses already and just wanted to be part of something that was bigger, a bigger community. So again, community, and it's a really great environment. I just literally half an hour ago, I was in a meeting with the other 50 plus some owners, and we do this.
Wow. Oh,
Every
cool.
week.
So you all get to work together and guide each other through.
Exactly. Yeah. We get on a meeting. We get on a Zoom meeting, and there's all of us are there, plus the CEO of the company, the COO, all the C's, the A, B, C's, D's of the company are there, and it's everybody knows everybody, and it's a great thing. So you have that really great support of having that connectivity throughout all of North America, and you have all the good things that come with a larger company. Like you have somebody who's working, for instance, with the revenue manager can take a broad picture of the entire industry, and then also focus in. And he works with me directly to focus in on how Palm Springs works, and which is a great benefit for the owners who sign on with us, because we can do realistic pricing, and which gets people's houses rented, because you don't want to have a vacation rental that's not renting. But also we can also cater it to say, well, let's take a more measured approach if you want. So and that's something that if I were to do this on my own, had I decided I would reinvent the wheel, everything would be, I'd be learning everything. So it was great to be able to kind of jump in with the wheels turning already, which was great. And just to have that support, like, if I have an issue, I can call up somebody and say, I don't know how to do this. And somebody inevitably in the company will know how to do that. So that's a great thing. So basically it was kind of one of those things, I don't say we fell back into, but it was actually, I would say, more of a natural progression for us to come out of the hotel owning business and go into vacation rental, because and the nice thing is now my little joke is that instead of having people traipsing through our backyard at the hotel, I basically get people to traipse through other people's backyards. So
So you actually cater to the tourist that comes from out of town and to the investors that own a vacation home.
Yeah. And Palm Springs, for anyone who's looking to get into it, or anyone who's traveling, Palm Springs, because it's had it's learned a lot, and because tourism is its number one industry, it's kind of heavily regulated, and a lot of people find that kind of a bit limiting. But I think it's actually a really great thing, because basically in Palm Springs you can only own one vacation rental property, like one investment property. So you can't, in other words, these are not corporately owned. When you're staying at someone's home, you are literally staying at somebody's home. It might be their second home, like it might be like somebody who lives anywhere in the US or anywhere else in the world might have a property here, but it is their property. It is their home, and it's where they stay when they come to Palm Springs, which a lot of people do. It might be a future retirement home or something. So it is somebody's home. It's a home. right? Which is really kind of nice, as opposed to it being like, because otherwise it turns into, well, it's just a giant hotel room.
Right.
It's a little more personal here. And it's amazing because every homeowner really does put their own personality into the house, which is amazing, right? So you really kind of get a feel for who that person is and how much they've embraced the Palm Springs kind of, the Palm Springs vibe, or how much they're kind of like, it's no, I'm in Palm Springs, and my house is going to totally reflect me, and which is cool, which is fine. And so that, anyways, it's one of those things that I really enjoy about the fact that it's very measured and it's very controlled. And so what that means is that for a homeowner, it doesn't get unwieldy, first of all, and then for someone who's coming here and looking for a vacation rental, because it suits people. If it's it's a family, you can stay in a house. If it's a few couples and you want to have a place to yourself and a private pool and all that, it's really great.
And that jumps me right into the next question about why it's the most owner-friendly choice.
Well, it's right in our credo, actually, and the credo is orange. Don't ask me the whole thing. But the O stands for owner centric. So it's because Casago was started by the owner, Steve Schwab, actually had a place in Mexico that he bought as a vacation place, and that was it. It was just like where I'm going to go to in Mexico. He was from Phoenix, and he had a place in Stony Point, Mexico, which I guess is fairly close. And he realized that, oh geez, when I'm not there, it's not being used. Why don't I start renting it out or I guess it started with friends even saying, hey, can I use your condo when you're not using it? And so that morphed into him actually going, oh, well, if friends and family can stay there, maybe I can help pay the mortgage. So basically what this company is all made up of people right from the get-go who were owners at one point, who were doing this, who had a property, who put it into service, if you will. And so we always come from that point of view. Not to say that we're not going to make the renter happy, that's every owner's objective. Right. The last thing you want as an owner is for someone to rent your property and not be happy there, right? So that it comes hand in hand. But the main thing is that we can all relate to the owners of properties. I mean, we obviously own one of the properties that we manage. So we're going to treat every property that we manage like it's ours. And so it's that kind of a thing.
I like that. So tell me about the variety of homes you offer.
Well, as we're just starting out, so we actually have a little bit of everything. We have some really nice properties that are tucked away in some nice neighborhoods, and so one of the places is like a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house that's a mid-century modern. But over the years,
love our mid-century moderns in Palm Springs.
Exactly. Exactly. And this one actually got kind of modified over the years so that it has the personality of the person who, this one specifically, when you're sitting there and you're kind of prepping a property, the neighbors kind of come by, right? They want to check you out. So one of the neighbors told us that this particular property was owned by the very first chief of police in Palm Springs, and so he built a little workshop in the back, and then they added on like kind of you can call it either a casita or a mother-in-law suite that has a separate entrance, and it's a fully equipped little apartment that's attached to the apartment. So this one in particular has a brand new pool, has 2 master suites in the main house, and then a little apartment. So it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom. It's tucked away. It's very private. It's really nice, completely surrounded. So that's a kind of one property that we have. We have another one that's kind of in the just ahead of the foothills, because we're kind of in this big bowl with mountains all around us, and so it's just kind of facing that, has a giant sprawling backyard that's it's just I can't really explain. You'd think I could explain this backyard much nicer, but it's beautiful. It's a giant pool, a lot of sitting area, a lot of grassy areas, and again, another mid-century modern. And it's really quite nice and quite lovely. Then we also have some condominiums for people who don't necessarily want to have like I'll go to the community pool. I'm good to go there.
I don't need to go skinny dip in the backyard.
Yeah. So people who don't necessarily need to skinny dip, we'll stay in a condominium. So we have a couple of 2-bedroom condominiums, and I'm not going to say, because our goal is to get some other larger properties, and so because they do exist here as well. So we're a variety of things out there for everybody, So even down to like a 1-bedroom condominium, which is great for someone who's traveling by themselves or a couple. Yeah, and they just want to have a place to kind of park themselves, but it's like but
they want it more private than a hotel. They want they want to make their own coffee and cook their own meals, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You don't feel like you have to go down into the lobby to get anything. So everything's right there, and then it's nicely located so that you're right down on the 111 or East Palm Canyon, which means you're just minutes away from downtown, or you just basically turn right when you come out of that property and you go down to where all the shopping is in Rancho Mirage and Palm Desert. So it's just a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what are some things that you do for your guests to showcase that you go the extra mile in the vacation home and care?
Well, we first of all, this is for both our guests and our owners, is when you're talking to us, you're talking to us. It's just us. So if you need something, if something goes wrong or whatever, you have a direct number to reach us with. And so, if
I want to rent a condo come summer, because I have a convention I'm going to come summer, I can just call you up.
Yeah, you can, absolutely, yeah. And I answer the phone.
Awesome.
I do it eventually. I mean, like it depends.
You want to text to make sure I'm not spam or something?
No, that's not it. But no, basically, we do go through a centralized number, but you'll get to me eventually. And then what I do actually, once I've got you once you've kind of come in, I'll give you our direct line. So so you can reach out to me, whether it's via text or whether you want to give me a call, whatever. I will respond. I think that's the biggest thing that, especially when it comes to vacation rentals, as opposed to if you're in a hotel, you would assume that you can go down to the front desk and someone's going to be at the front desk. So now it's a larger hotel. Some of the smaller hotels don't necessarily have that option for you. But in a vacation rental, there's no one there, right? You're just in the property, right? And so basically, once you check in, you have the number that you can reach out to me directly, and I'm only 10 minutes away. So that is the main thing. So if ever you need anything, whether it's just directions to something, a recommendation for something, whatever, or something, God forbid, something's going wrong, I'm 10 minutes away, and that's about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
That's the biggest kind of thing.
Well, awesome. Do you have anything you want to close out with as we wrap this up?
Well, I don't know. I'm again. I just want to say thanks so much for doing this. I mean, it's. I think it's just a great thing that you're doing for the folks that you're showcasing, and
Awesome.
also for the community itself. Because one thing I think is great is that, kind of reiterating or just kind of like circling back to the idea of like, we all the progress that we make as a community. It's all nice to see, but I think that, in today's world that, there's still a lot of prejudice that's out there that we have to
Oh,
be aware of. So I think it's really great that when you can showcase folks in the community doing things as real people, and the variety of the things that you're showing on your podcast. I think that's just amazing because it just shows us as a dynamic folks that are out there doing our things, and it also gives everybody an opportunity to connect, which is a really great thing. So, I can't thank you enough because we're just, getting our feet wet with this. And, one of the things that we want to do with our hotel, we cater to LGBTQ travelers, and we want to continue doing that. We really want to make sure that that queer folk who are traveling and they're looking at vacation rentals as an option, they can feel very comfortable with us, that they don't like, it's like one of those things like you have to start explaining people, and it's kind of like, it's not for me to educate you as to how to deal with me. So when you're dealing with us, we're family, and so again, I just can't thank you enough for showcasing us, putting us out there, and letting folks know that we're there and we're there for them. So
well, thank you. I love having you. You've been great on this show. You've been fantastic.
thank you so much. I mean, you've been great. This is so much fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So
Okay.
thank you all for tuning in to Pride Pages podcast, and don't forget to subscribe and follow, and we'll wrap it up.